upstairs. But thank you all very much. I've been so welcomed by everybody, and I can't wait to meet you guys over the course of the next indefinite amount of time.
I like that, indefinite. Please give Jeff a round of applause. So he'll be getting back up there. We can probably do some preliminaries, and I will bring Tim and Dave up here in just a moment. Thank you for making this a full house tonight. This is a very special night. This is a unique night. You'll remember this for a long time. First of all, the reason you're here is for a wonderful program, but I want you to know where your money is going. Everybody take a look at this wall up here. There's a little slice of it. The theater, as you know, was cut into 4 theaters this past winter, and without harming and in fact exposing and enhancing the historic landmarked parts of the building. Our organization landmarked it back in 1989. If you go to a film here in one of the 2 back auditoriums, you will see larger portions of the murals. And these have been exposed for the first time since the twinning of the theater in 1973. And the reason to expose them is to eventually restore them. And to expose them is to inspire all of us to take a look and say, gee, this needs to be done. These were underwater. How many of you went to the Admiral when these were exposed before 1973? There are people here who were here. I'm sure Tim and Dave will talk about that. Well, these scenes on the walls went with the nautical motif of the Admiral Theater. The whole building was designed to look like a ship when it was built in 1942, and the Portola Theater, which is now was what is now the lobby, was expanded to the Admiral. And you know, the curvilinear design and the crow's nest on top that used to be there, and the whole Queen Mary look of the lobby was all intentional, as were these murals, which made you look like you were underwater. And it was kind of a black light effect. The appliques lit up in the dark. And so we are aiming to do that. And by we, I'm talking about the Southwest Seattle Historical Society. All of your money that you paid tonight is tax deductible, and it will go into a special fund of our organization, though eventually we'll have RFPs, artist supply. This will be a formal process, and over time you will see the progress of the restoration of these murals. So thank you for being here for that purpose. And now I'd like to bring up the stars of our show. They can walk up here while I'm talking about them. The reason that we are having this show tonight is that, oh golly, 25 years ago, a woman named Berlina Brock was on our board. And I've known Berlina for a long time. Berlina has stayed active in our activities, and I was talking with her a couple of years ago, and she said, did you know my son works for the Chaplin family? And my ears went big, and I immediately said, you've got to tell me when he gets back to town, because he lives in Italy. And so a couple, 3 months ago, she did. Berlina, would you stand up so that everybody can give you a round of applause? And so when I knew that Tim was coming, he was gracious enough to take time out of his family time here to do a special event, because as he'll explain, he got his inspiration for his fabulous, nearly unique career right here in West Seattle, not only at this theater, but at another one that's been torn down for about 40 years, the Granada. How many went to the Granada? There we go, there we go. And, you know, who better to interview or converse or chat or reminisce with Tim than his childhood best friend, Dave Beck. How many know Dave Beck from the radio? Okay, we've got lots of those. So without further ado, I just want you to know the format. We are here in this auditorium for about an hour and a half. These two will chat, and then we'll douse the lights, and you'll see a clip, and then they'll chat. We'll see a clip, chat, see a clip. We'll see how many of those we get in an hour and a half. And right at the very end of that, I've got 2 very special auction items. And for about 3 or 4 minutes, we're going to auction them off to one of you lucky folks in the audience Actually, there are 2 items, so 2 of you will go home with something very special tonight, inscribed by our guest. Then there'll be an intermission, and then we get to see Modern Times, the whole meal deal. So, without any further ado, I'm going to give the mic to Dave Beck, and please welcome Dave Beck and Timothy Brock.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? How's that? Yeah. Well, being in radio, I usually have at least an outline or a script in front of me, but tonight I'm just going to free associate with my dear friend Tim here, and just by way of association to tell you how special this is for me. Today and yesterday, my Facebook, those memories on Facebook, you know, how you get what happened 1 year ago today. Yesterday, it was a picture of Tim with the New York Philharmonic in Vail, Colorado, doing, what were you doing there?
City Lights.
Yeah, conducting the New York Philharmonic in City Lights by Charlie Chaplin. Charlie wrote the music. And so I kind of pinch myself when I think of Tim conducting the New York Philharmonic and all these orchestras in Europe, and it's really an extraordinary life and story, and it all began right here in West Seattle, as we're going to talk about it. Another weaving together came a few days after that last summer, and he sends me this picture, and text on the iPhone, and it's like this fellow, and I recognize that guy. Who's that? Is that Carter Bray, the principal cello of the New York Philharmonic? And this is a picture that comes from Shanghai, China, where Tim is with the New York Philharmonic last summer. And it turns out that Carter Bray, the principal cellist, and I'm a cellist, and I interviewed Carter Bray many times over the years, and I am in awe of Carter Bray. Well, it turns out Carter Bray is a Charlie Chaplin freak, and so he and Tim go to a bar in Shanghai and stay up late in the night talking about Chaplin films. And so the way, I think you'll find all evening tonight, the way things weave together in this beautiful, cool tapestry is it's just something I'm really excited to celebrate. So, we promised you clips, and we want to start out with a clip. And I'm not going to say much about this because this actually is a film. We're going to break down Tim's German expressionist period. And I worked,
Starting now.
Yeah.
Genau.
And so a lot of the experiments that we did in Olympia, we'll tell you about Olympia, had to do with some of these films. So we're going to see a little bit of Faust. This is Tim's score, and I think it's just such a visceral example of what he does and the great films that he works with. So let's roll that and we'll get started. Let's go to the Granada Theater. A lot of you raised your hand. Granada, there's an apartment complex there now, and the Granada was the place where we would go on the weekends and see silent movies, and there was a great Wurlitzer organ there. And you can tell me how old you were, Tim, and what it was like to go into the Granada Theater, what that place was like. I recall it was a little long in the tooth, as they say.
Yeah.
But you had an extraordinary experience there.
Well, I mean, the Granada. For those of you who went to the Granada Theater, it was an amazing thing because it was a wonderful old silent film movie palace. The fact that they had a Wurlitzer that was still on the motors. In other words, it was still on a platform that raised while the organist was playing, and the feature would come on. Maybe not this film, but other films. But my only experience in up to that point, in terms of silent film with the Granada was probably like most people, and that's Shakey's Pizza. I loved silent film and Shakey's Pizza. I wanted to have pizza all the time. And half the reason is because they would show Laurel and Hardy shorts and Chaplin shorts and Buster Keaton shorts and Harold Lloyd shorts, and it was just on a continuous loop while they made pizza. So I was in heaven at that point. So I was equally disturbed when they shut down Shakey's. So, but the Granada Theater was a tremendous experience because for me, as a child, I really went in there because I heard that there was this great organ. And I didn't really know that much about film. I went for the... And in this one afternoon, and I went with I believe my brother Tom, who's here somewhere. Not yet, of course. Brock, he's always late. My brother Tom, you, Dan, and my next door neighbor Brian Backman. We went to go see silent films where they were showing them kind of all day long. It was a kind of a marathon. And that's the clip that we were supposed to start with. And on that day they showed Metropolis, Nosferatu, and 2 Keaton shorts. And it was very much something I never forgot.
Yes.
And about 20 years later, I wrote this score, which was 20 years ago or something. This is Faust from 1926.